Is everybody ready? All right. I'm going to call this meeting to order then. I wanted to thank everybody for coming tonight to our annual State of the Village address. It's nice to see you here. And I just have a couple brief announcements as intros before we get into the meat of the subject here tonight. I wanted to introduce the board members who are here tonight. To my left, got Trustee Gazzone and Trustee Wagner. And we have our village clerk, Hosanna Kronecki. I'm your village president, Deb Bullwinkle. Did I miss anybody? Anybody coming in? When they come in, we'll do intros later, or we'll take care of it later. Just wanted to thank you again. This is our first public engagement event of 2016. This will be the first of many that we hope to do this year to keep you informed of all that's happening in Villa Park. It's a very busy time. The purpose of the meeting tonight is to kind of review what has occurred, but also what is to come in 2016. We're expecting this to be yet another very busy year, as they have been for the last several years anyway. We're expecting tonight to last until about 8:30 or thereabouts, and the way tonight will flow is we're going to share a slide presentation. This slide screen behind me probably gave it away, that we're going to go through quite a bit in regards to what's been happening, what our plans are for this year. We do have a mic set up in the aisle right here. It looks like that's just the only one we have, but it's right here, right in front of the stage. So what we'll do is we're going to go through the presentation first by department and cover, all those details, and then at around 8 o'clock or thereabouts, we'll open it up to question and answer with you. So if anybody in the audience would like to come forward and ask some questions. If we didn't cover something in particular in the meeting, by all means, it's your opportunity to come forward and ask us some questions. So I want to make sure that you know about that. Also, we have the Cable Commission with us tonight. They are filming this now, taping it for rebroadcast on Channel 6 if you have Comcast, and also Channel 99 if you have AT&T Uverse. We also have a YouTube channel too, and we can let you know about that link as well. So there's a few different opportunities to capture the program again if you're not here with us tonight, or you want to go back and watch it again, you'll have that opportunity. Also, if you have any cell phones, we just ask that you maybe silence them before we get into this. And then if you do need to take a break, stretch your legs, use the facilities, they're right upstairs out in the hallway right outside of the auditorium here. So then I just want, before I toss it over to Manager Keehner and staff, is there any other elected officials here with us tonight? It's kind of hard to see in the audience, believe it or not, these lights are pretty bright. Any other local, state, county, federal officials with us tonight? If you are, you can stand up and we can introduce you. No? Okay, sometimes we do. Sometimes we do have people here. Looks like we have some library trustees here. If you want to stand, y'all can stand up. Just want to thank you for coming tonight. So is there anybody else? Are we missing anybody?
I'll stand up.
Oh, you don't have to be shy. Okay, there you are. Hi. It's just hard to see with the light, so we want to make sure that we acknowledge our library trustees here tonight. Thank you. So with that, what I want to do is toss it over to Manager Keehner and staff. They're going to take us through a very, very detailed program here. And okay, with that, I'm going to ask you to take it away.
Thank you, Howard.
Thank you.
I have to apologize to Village President Bullwinkle and the board that Chief Rakosnick earlier said, Manager Keehner, I never get to do anything during these town hall meetings or State of the Village. And I said, Ron, okay, so tonight I'll let you take the microphone and walk around if there's any questions. So there you go, Chief. You get to help out tonight.
Thank you very much.
And Director Wachtel said the same thing, so Kevin's going to be operating the PowerPoint.
We're going to step off the stage.
I can't believe that.
I know. We're not in the way. Do that.
All right. So we'll begin in a moment. So if the light bounces off my head and you cannot see the screen podium around a little bit. We did put together a PowerPoint. It's got a number of items on each slide. Each slide is a different department. We've included some photos this year of some economic development projects that we're proud to talk about. So we'll start. My name is Rich Keehner. I'm the village manager of Villa Park. It's my honor. I've been village manager since April of 2011. So we'll talk this evening quickly about some accomplishments, what we're working on now, what we're going to be working on in fiscal year 2016. And when I say fiscal year 2016, our fiscal year 2016 starts May 1st. And so right now, as we speak, we're compiling the budget. Should be ready for the board tomorrow. We'll transmit that budget to the board, and then we'll hold budget meetings, workshops, if you will, during the month of March and April if necessary. Approve the budget, file it with the county, and then implement the budget effective May 1st. So let's start with the first slide. So I'm just starting off with administration, and what I did is I put some popular programs on here, and I did it for a reason to kind of go through these for clarity. And one of our most popular programs is the Civic Ready Notify Me parts of our website. We recently redid our entire website, and the Civic Ready and Notify Me are on the front page. You can click on that and enter your personal information, your email, etc. But for Civic Ready, if you want emergency notifications, go into Civic Ready. So if a water main is broken, there's some kind of a natural disaster taking place, could be a storm, you want Civic Ready. If you want general village, like a news release, you want Notify Me, or you want both. You could do both. And then Notify Me, you'll have, you can click on if you want an employment opportunity, if you want some information from the Parks and Rec, etc. So two different email distribution systems. And what you'll find throughout tonight is we've really dove into software implementation and social media to get the word out about what we're doing, not only for emergencies, but street improvements, events within the village, things of that nature. E-Waste is one of our most popular programs. And I'm not sure if all of you are aware, but this is a free program to the residents of Villa Park. And it takes place on the third Saturday of the month from 9 to noon at the Public Works building right next to Village Hall. So you can bring your old TVs, you can bring your old computers, monitors, typewriters, all of that, the third Thursday from 9 to noon, and deposit it with our recycling folks free of charge. And that program prevents the TVs from being on the right-of-way, because George Strom Refuge Company will not pick up the TVs, computers, anything like that anymore. We have started just this month a monthly e-newsletter. And so what that is our PIO, or Public Information Officer, on a monthly basis transmits an electronic newsletter full of events. Now this does not take the place of Village Matters. So the Village Matters will still come out 3 times a year or so, but you have an option of receiving an e-newsletter from Mari, our PIO. And so if you want to sign up from that, or for that, just go onto our website and then go on to Notify Me and sign up. And then Mari will send you an electronic newsletter once a month. Could be ribbon cuttings, it could be we received a new vehicle, it could be all sorts of things. Some of the things that we're proud of is the Adopt a Fire Hydrant. We have about 1,200 fire hydrants within the village. Those 1,200 fire hydrants get exercised, but some of those need to be painted and rehabbed. So right now we have about 259 of those that have been rehabbed, and you can adopt it, paint it, and make it look nice. For those of you who shop Walmart on 83, there's really a fire hydrant right there by the guardrail as you pull in and turn left. It really needs to be adopted, so please help me out. What we're doing throughout the village is we're tearing down a lot of walls. And by that, it's not literal, but the old way, and I've talked about this for several years, is things were departmentalized. There were walls. Well, administration doesn't do that. Public Works doesn't do that. You have to go to Parks. We've taken down a lot of walls, not only through software, but just through communication internally. And so what we've done is we've tried to branch out on many different things. And one of the things we've branched out is being bilingual. We now have folks that can speak Spanish, Polish, Lithuanian, Russian, and including sign language. So that takes down a lot of barriers of communication between the residents and staff. And if we don't happen to have that particular language on staff, we can reach out and find an interpreter. We've started an employee wellness program in the village where we have a belief that if you're a healthy employee, you'll come to work. If you're not healthy, then obviously you'll stay home, which then creates some overtime, or it creates activities that don't get completed. So we've started a wellness plan where we educate the employees about obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and also we have Virgin Plus, which is like a pedometer that goes on our waist, or we now use Fitbits if you want to buy those personally. And we have challenges to see how many steps our employees can get on a daily basis. And we challenge each other, and there's contests, and it's very competitive, but it gets folks up and moving. Maybe they take a break and they walk, maybe for lunch they walk, where normally they wouldn't. And so for instance, just use me as an example. I think right now I've got 22,000 steps for today. And we track those, and I don't know if Kevin has his handy, but it's pretty competitive, and it's something we're very proud of. We've started an employee intranet so that employees and the village can communicate via the internet, not a website external, but a website internal, so that we can get information to all the employees. It could be benefits, it could be videos and healthy recipes, it could be cooking videos, it could be many different things. And it also contains a blog area where if you have a question, you can ask it, and we'll get back to you. So it improves the communications, because when you think about it, you have the fire department on 3 different shifts of 24 hours. The police department has different shifts. I'm on a different shift than all of them. And it just helps to communicate throughout the village with its employees and get the information out. We have a fantastic website, for my opinion. It's very transparent. If you'd like to know how much money we spend as a village, how much we spend on a bi-weekly basis because we have a bill listing, you can go to our website, go to the transparency page, and go from top to bottom. You can see the sales tax, you can see property tax, you can see our annual CACR, which is our financial report. You can see many different things. I encourage you to go on there, because we are transparent. And there's tons of information on there, including contracts. We have contracts separated by year, and lots of interesting information. We do something that the employees are very proud of, and myself. On an annual basis, we have a chili cook-off. We have an employee chili cook-off, and we hold it at the golf course. And through the proceeds of that, we actually buy coats for students within Villa Park in District 45. I think we gave some to 48 last year. We may have bought some coats for 88, and we do that. And I think this year we went over 50 coats. I think last year was the same, about 50 coats. So we, through raffles during the chili cook-off, we obtain some cash. We go out and buy coats on sale, and then we give them away. We actually give them to the school district. They give them to the children or the parents. So we're very proud that we do that on an annual basis. And so we're ready for the next slide. I often have a lot of questions about the Sugar Creek Golf Course. And for those of you who aren't aware, we own the golf course in conjunction with Elmhurst Park District. And for a number of years, since about 1975, we've owned that golf course together. And In the recent past, there's been budget deficits and things of that nature. So over probably the last 3 years or so, we've rectified that. We've actually dug in. It was brought to my attention when I arrived in 2011 that the golf course was losing money, etc. So we dug in as a staff, as a team, looked at it, came up with many different ideas. So I can tell you the last few years that the golf course has made a small profit after paying for the bonds. Elmhurst Park District has bonds outstanding, and so does the Village of Villa Park for the golf course. So Villa Park has about $775,000 left for a bond issuance for improvement on the golf course, and I believe Elmhurst Park District has $660,000 left. But there's been some really neat things happening at the golf course. One neat thing is we changed auditors, and you're thinking, Keehner, why is that neat? Because we learned something very valuable from Dixon, Illinois, when they had their issues. Their auditor was employed by many entities, and so was the auditor of the golf course. And so what we did is the village recently changed auditors. Elmhurst Park District kept their auditor, and then now the golf course has a different auditor. So all three of us have different auditors. So you've got a whole bunch of different set of eyes, a whole bunch of different specifics and thresholds that they use, and it's an eye-opening experience. So we're very proud of that. Made some infrastructure improvements at the golf course, but one of the key things that we've been doing this year and last year is tree removal due to the emerald ash borer. And that affected approximately 350 trees this year. So they've taken down quite a few trees, and when you do that, obviously you want to replant. And so unfortunately, if you play out there, you're going to see that we have to get those trees, we have to get that remedy. But in 2015, and the golf course is on a different fiscal year than the village. So the golf course is on a calendar year. So calendar year obviously is January 1 through December 31st. But this year, the rounds of golf were amazing. This year, on the calendar year 2015, the rounds of golf at the golf course were 31,059 rounds of golf. And that's almost 3,000 more than 2014, and also more than 2013. But a rolling 3-year average, and let me talk quickly about that, is what we found out when we looked at the golf course budget, was they were making the budget versus projected, and you can't do that. You got to do budget versus what actually was realized so that you know where your correct numbers are. So we instituted a 3-year rolling budget. They go back 3 years and take the average so that it's closer than just taking a guesstimate and shooting something out. It's very close because golf obviously is weather dependent, but using a 3-year rolling average has really helped us. This year, they had 176 playable days of golf, which was 8 more than 2014. And those 8 days generated thousands of dollars extra. In fact, the Junior Golf Academy, or program, if you will, sold out in one evening this year. Last year, that program sold out, but also made $75,000. So a lot of kids go through that program that my son has been through there 2 years in a row, and it's just an awesome program. They do a good job. So you do have a nice golf course, a lot of banquets happening. Not only do they do the rounds of golf, but they do the banquets. This is actually a photo, even it looks like it's been photoshopped, but we took this photo, and it's very beautiful out there. If you haven't been there lately, stop out, have a Coke, kind of walk around the building. They're having banquets, they're doing wedding receptions. They're getting a lot of use out of the building that normally a golf course facility, it doesn't take place. It's usually just golf. But they do have the bar there, so they're using it to bring extra revenue, and that's awesome. So let's move on to the next, which is finance. And we do have Director Kevin Wachtel. If you want to raise your hand, Kevin's here. Lots of neat things happening. When you think finance, folks probably think, well, what actually goes on in there? Well, a lot of data collection and a lot of payments from water and sewer. And that's really a very, very busy department. Human Resources also reports to Kevin. Let me give you some statistics. The village, we bill on a monthly basis 6,815 bills. That's what goes out on a monthly basis. And on a weekly basis, we have 1,250 folks come in. So that's Monday through Friday, they come in and pay. So that's how many interactions on a week. But on a year, we have 65,000 customer interactions just in the finance area. 65,000, that's tremendous. A lot happens in there. You pay your bill, there's a lot of data entry, you've got the employee benefits. OSHA is ran through Human Resources. We've implemented software improvements to move towards more efficient data entry, including remote check deposits, processing payroll, automated entry for accounts payable. So we're working smarter, not harder. Because by tearing down the wall, we're working together as a team, and we're getting a lot of things done. We're getting things done efficiently. This year, we're going to create a benefit portal. And you'll probably laugh. But when folks sign up for health insurance, when the employees sign up for health insurance, it's manual. We do it manually. So if I want to make a change to my insurance beneficiary, I go to Janet Gorman, our Human Resource Coordinator, and I say, Janet, I need to make a change. Well, it's all manual. It's all paper-driven. So this year we're going to a benefit portal, which will be website-driven through a third party. So when I make changes, I can do that at midnight at home. I'll just go onto the portal, which is secure, make my changes, and then I know that it's done. And if I work late and I can't get into Human Resources, well, that's okay. It's on the website. I'll just do it myself. And that's health insurance enrollment, changes in benefits. So we're trying to be more efficient. So just think of all those papers and multiple copies for health, dental, and health insurance and vision. So a lot of copies. Efficiency, efficiency, efficiency through software. We're fiscally responsible. We put together a very conservative budget that's reviewed by all staff. It's reviewed by me before it goes through the board. Then the board reviews it, and then they have questions, and we go back to staff, back and forth. Very, very conservative. And this year's budget, starting May 1st, it'll be proposed shortly, is very conservative again. What we do is we take a look at the surplus cash on hand, and I ask Kevin this a lot. Okay, what's our monthly revenues? What's our monthly expenditures? How are we doing? And right now, we have approximately 148 days of surplus revenue. GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association, recommends 90. Well, we need a cushion because we have outstanding bonds, which tells the bondholders this village is in good shape. We're going to keep offering them A status for the bonds, lower interest rates. Lower interest rates and A status means that the residents pay less in interest rates when we go out and borrow money. And we've been very successful at doing that, including the 2014 and 2015 bond referendum for the roads. Fantastic interest rates. But just so you know, on a daily basis, it costs the village to operate just for the corporate, not the enterprise funds, about $54,000 a day. So when I say we have 148 days, that's 148 times 54,000. So we have a little bit over 8 million in surplus revenue. So what that means is, if we don't get any revenue from the state and feds, we have enough to last for the corporate 148 days before we're at zero. And we're very proud of that. In fact, we're so fiscally responsible that our finance department has received the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for 28 consecutive years. And we've been awarded the GFOA Distinguished Budget for 22 consecutive years. And if you would like to look at this year's budget that we're in right now, It's on the transparency page, along with last year's and the year before that. Kevin, through various meetings with the town halls, meetings that we had, through the 2014 and 2015 bond referendum sale, we created a resident oversight committee. And what that basically is, it's residents who are overseeing the expenditure of those bonds. So when we sold the bonds, we took the proceeds, put them in an escrow account separate from everything else in the village. And then we get the invoices for the roadways, and we pay the invoices with those referendum bond proceeds, and then the residents of our community look at the bank statements. So they verify the bank statements that the money was spent according to what we told you, the residents, during our village town hall meetings. And a couple times, I think Kevin gets a couple of questions, but overall, the resident committee is satisfied. If you would like to be on the committee and receive the bank statements and review it, just let Kevin know tonight, and he can put you on the committee. And let's go to the police department. So with the police department, our police chief is Bob Pavlicek. Been with us for a number of years. You know, one of the things that when I first arrived, they said, Manager Keehner, we need some equipment. We really need some equipment. Because in 2008, we had the market crash. And what happens, in the private sector, you feel it immediately. In the public sector, we don't feel it for like 14, 16 months afterwards. But when we felt it, the first thing you normally do is, okay, we're not buying any more vehicles. We're going to make sure that everybody's employed. We're going to make sure that the residents receive the services. We're just going to stop capital improvements for capital equipment purchasing. So that's basically what happened. So now we're buying equipment. We're putting the equipment in the budget, and we're conservative because we watch our numbers. So if our revenue numbers aren't there, we're not buying the equipment. We're making it last. But our numbers have been very good. But one of the items that I've talked to Chief Bob about is retirements, where we're not unlike any other community across the nation. The baby boomers are retiring, and then folks are moving up. So we're focusing on training the folks that are coming up. So when they're ready, when the retirements happen, they're ready. So we're doing command and staff training, looking at the promotions, making sure these folks are ready to go. We're purchasing vehicles. We normally buy 3 squad cars a year. We don't go crazy. We buy 3 squad cars. Then we take a look at the 3 squad cars that are going to be replaced. So either do we sell them or do we rotate them to Public Works, Code Enforcement, or throughout the other village staff. So if we can use them, we'll rotate them out, and then whatever other vehicle that replaces, does anybody else need it? And at the end of the chain, we'll take the last vehicle, we'll sell it at an auction once it's approved by the board, and then we'll take those proceeds from that sale of that vehicle and stick it right back into the equipment replacement fund. So it just cycles. So this year, this fiscal year we're in right now, which ends April 30th, we've bought 3 squad cars and 1 detective car, because the detective car, it had to go. And the 3 squads, you're probably thinking, Keehner, why? And most of the squads have over 95,000 miles. Some have 130. And at some point, you just look at them and you think it needs to start and it needs to get where it needs to go. So what we do is we have Fleet analyze them. Fleet changes the oil on a weekly basis on most of these. They check the oil. They check all kinds of things, because when that first responder needs to be someplace, it needs to be there. And we rely on the fleet department to say, hey, Manager Keehner, this one's got to go. And then that's how we judge. Next year, May 1st, we have 3 squad cars in the budget. No detective car next year. Couldn't make it. We don't have the funds for that. So 3 squad cars next year. Probably Ford Interceptors. The police officers really like those. They sit up a little bit higher. Irma, our insurance carrier, really likes that. They sit up a little higher. They give you more elbow room. Most of them are 4-wheel drive or all-terrain, etc. We have a program called CERT, Citizen Emergency Response Team, and we used to train that team in-house. Well, you know, we found out that Milton Township has a classroom, and they do official training, just like you were in a classroom with a bunch of students or in a college class. So we combined with Milton Township, and we send our CERT volunteers to that classroom to learn the latest trends, and it's been very effective. Because we do use those CERT emergency folks during storms. They'll put on an orange vest and operate intersections or help us close down streets if a tree's across the roadway, anything like that. Even help us fill sandbags, and they've done that. I'm going to take a look at my list. Let me talk a little bit about Narcan. Can you hold up your hands if you know what the Narcan is, so I kind of get an idea? Okay. Well, Narcan is actually a device and a chemical that's used when you have a heroin overdose. And so far, it doesn't say on the screen, but in 2015 in DuPage County alone, there were 61 Narcan saved. So what happens is, there's a 911 call, somebody's heroin overdose, police or fire get there and they inject this and they actually save their lives. That's the short, brief version. But for the Village of Villa Park, we have 7 of the 61. We're very proud of that 7. We've saved 7 lives just by injecting the Narcan. The police department, for 2015, had 31,350 calls for service. That's a tremendous amount of calls. And all of that is service calls, citizen assist, traffic stops, field stops, 31,350 calls. 843 arrests. That sounds pretty low to me. I don't know, Bob. I'm happy. That includes juvenile and adult. One of the items that we learned from another experience, not Dixon, but close to us, is the Explorer program. So once that news broke, we dove into our Explorer program. Found no problems, but now we're very aware and we interact with the club. Not that we didn't before, but there's more interaction. The bank statements are actually reviewed by our finance director on a monthly basis, and just to make sure that everything's proceeding smoothly, and it is, and it has been. So we're very proud of that. Very proud. Let's go to the next screen, which is our fire department. Well, I love our fire department. Not that I don't love the police department, but yeah, here you go. So, when I arrived in 2011, a lot of folks said, you know, Manager Keehner, we need you to look at the manning. We need you to look at the equipment. Because in the fire department, there's 3 shifts. You know, and they run 24-hour shifts. Could be black, purple, green. They're all labeled. And but when someone's ill, it really affects the shift because it's a 24-hour shift. And so you need to pull in, and there's a finite number of firefighters. So we took a look at the manning, we took a look at the equipment, because again, you know, due to 2008, the village was a little bit off its equipment replacement. So what we did is, Chief Ron and I, Ron Rakosnik, you raise your hand. He'll come around in a minute with the microphone. He has this cool sweater on. You'll see that. And what we did, though, we negotiated into a labor contract that the Village of Villa Park has the opportunity to use part-time firefighters. And if the revenues exist within the village, great. If the revenues don't exist, then that's a program that we can take away, and no harm, no foul. So we're looking forward to implementing that system, and that's 1 part-timer per shift, and it doesn't replace a full-timer, but it gives extra manning on a part-time basis. And it could be 15 part-timers rotated. And you know what's special about that? Is that the full-time firefighters will get to know these folks, and if there's ever a vacancy, they'll say to the Board of Fire and Police Commission, hey, this guy's really good. You know, he would fit in well with us, and they'd go through the process. But we'd already know them. They've already proved themselves through this program. So we've taken a address and we've addressed the manning, very important, manning. But we've also addressed the equipment, because through a grant written by the fire department that was awarded to the village, we were able to get a brand new fire truck. You know, the fire truck was very expensive, I think $518,000, and it wasn't a ladder truck. Ladder truck is close to $1 million. But the truck that we got was close to $518,000. The grant took care of most of it, but we did have some cash that we had to put in. It's always a share. So we're very proud we have a new fire truck. We ordered a new ambulance. The ambulance arrived. So now we have a new fire truck, a new ambulance. Our revenues look pretty good, so we ordered another ambulance. So what we're doing is replacing this old equipment. I think the fire truck that we replaced was 27 years old. It was coming back from a fire, or a call, if you will. The gas tank fell off. You know, that shouldn't happen to a fire truck, but it did. So it's no longer with us. You know, we replaced an ambulance that the maintenance records were, 12, 15 inches high. So that ambulance is now gone. So we ordered a new ambulance. So we've got the fire truck and the new ambulance on the south side of town. When the new ambulance gets in April, we're going to put that on the north side. So both ambulances will be new. Got a new fire truck. Now we're saving for another fire truck that we'll put on the north side. The fire trucks will probably last 20 years. The ambulances probably last a good 12 years or so. And that'll keep us going. Let me tell you a little bit about the EMS calls and the fire calls. Not as much as the police calls, but for 2015, the calls that the fire department responded to were 2,803, which is almost 300 calls more than last year, and almost 300 calls more than the year before that. So the calls are on an increase. But here's the interesting thing. You're probably thinking, Keehner, you know why that is? It's because EMS has increased. Not in 2015. EMS did not increase. The fire calls increased. First time in a long time. So we had, in 2015, we had 1,800, yeah, that's cool, you can go there, 1,806 EMS calls, which is less than last year, which is less than the year before, but the fire calls increased. We had 997 fire calls, but that doesn't mean it's actually a building engulfed in flames. It could be a smoke detector that went off, things of that nature, but the truck still responds. So 997 in 2015, which is almost a 300 increase from the previous 2 years each. So kind of an anomaly, if you will. Not sure if all of you know it, but we have an ISO rating of 3, which really means a lot to the community because it tells the business community and their insurance that we are a very well-run community and that our water system is very reliable, our hydrants are very reliable, our equipment's very reliable, our staff is very reliable, and basically we know what we're doing. And we went to a 3 just about 18 months ago or so. Very proud of that 3. We have a fire inspector, just a part-time fire inspector. He did 468 fire inspections in 2015, just as a part-time fire inspector. And when he comes through your building, he'll point things out, smoke detectors, fire alarms, sprinklers, things that you may need to do electrically to prevent fires and to ensure safety. So 468 fire inspections. That's awesome for a part-time fire inspector. We're doing something a little different with the ambulances. And we received a grant for one, but we're going to purchase striker cots. And what a striker cot is, it's not your normal cot. When you watched Engine 51 many years ago probably, they pull a cot out, they lift it up. Well, these striker cots are electric, and you push a button and they raise and lower, which reduces the injuries to the firefighters. So if you have a healthy employee, healthy employees at work, etc. So these striker cots, and they're not inexpensive, they're about $40,000 a piece, will be put in each of the ambulances to lower the injury to the firefighters when they're lifting the patients, pulling them out of the home via the cot, things of that nature. But we did receive a grant for one, And now we're seeking a grant for the second one. So we do go after grants, and I tell you, the fire department writes their own grants. We don't have a grant arm for the village. The library doesn't write them for us. I don't write them. The fire department does that, and they do an awesome job. So I'm very proud of that. Police department writes grants. If you'd like to know what grants they've written, you can ask them. They'll be here for a little while. But the fire department just wrote a grant, $248,000 for scuba packs. And what that is, it's air components that they have on their back. But these components will be like Elmhurst and like Oakbrook and like Lombard. So when we all get to a fire and we're helping each other, you have the same air pack. So if somebody runs out of air, here, use one of ours. It's exactly the same. And we're doing joint bidding for buying hoses, for buying automobiles. We're doing that to keep the cost down to get more bang for your buck. If you don't know it, the fire department does CPR classes. So if you're interested in the CPR class, they do them right at the fire station in the south part of town. You can sign up. It's not that expensive. It's kind of a good skill to have sometimes. We also did a unique item. We were the last community within the DUCOM system that had an antiquated phone system, response system. So we updated that. We all labeled it the Z-Tron issue. So we resolved the Z-Tron issue this fiscal year. Went to a T1 line, put some speakers in the Bay Area, so anywhere in the fire stations, the call comes through the speakers, so these folks know, man, there's a call right now, I'm going. And little changes to the phone system, which the chief can talk to you about after this, but very proud of that. Very proud of our department. So, going on to Public Works, I know this is the one that everybody likes to talk about. A lot of things going on in Public Works. So tonight, we brought the Board of Trustees the 2016 Capital Improvement Program. So we'll start looking at that. So all the streets are in there for 2016. And that'll be proposed during the budget discussions. So we'll have referendum roads, we'll have non-referendum roads, we'll have the 50-50 sidewalk program, we'll have the 50-50 rear yard drainage program, we'll have the crack sealing program, we'll have the pavement patching program. And we will go through all of that during the budget meeting. So if you can't be present, just tune in via the channels and listen to the various roads and how much money we're spending and things of that nature. But we do have, again, proposed a 50-50 sidewalk program, the 50-50 rear yard drainage program. But let me read you. I had Public Works put this together for me, and it's just amazing. I'll quickly go through this. But for 2015, so we're going to name these as we go forward with the bond referendum streets. So this, I'm talking about the 2015 pavement improvements for the referendum fund. So we did 14 streets this year, 3.98 miles. For the 2015 non-referendum street improvement, we did 10 streets, 2.41 miles. We're just starting Park Boulevard. They're going to be doing work this Saturday, kicking it off. Huge project, almost 1.4 million, or 1.4 million. Ardmore Streetscape is still going on. We're going to be finishing that in the spring. That's another $1.5 million project. You know, we did the asphalt pavement patching. This is a 2015. We did 9 streets at 2.6 miles. We did the 2015 crack sealing program. Asphalt streets, 5 streets, 6.19 miles. We did the asphalt resurface rejuvenation, 7 streets, 3.67 miles. We did the 50-50 sidewalk program in 2015. We did 8,600 square feet of sidewalk replacement, 38 different locations. You talk about a very busy Public Works department. Very proud of it. And, you know, when I say all these streets, just think of how many people live on those streets and how many phone calls that Public Works got. Not only for streets, but in heavy rains, they get phone calls about flooding and, hey, you know, may have a sewer backup. where they're interested in rear yard drainage improvements. So just think about how many folks that the streets were done this year. Very proud of PW. Vitas Diskelis, our director, had to leave. His mom just got out of the hospital, so she was coming to a rehab facility, so we had to leave early. But I think Rich Salerno's still here. Appreciate all your hard work. Raise your hand. You wearing a tie tonight. I can't believe it. Just can't believe it. So, very proud of them. And proud of you as a resident. And we appreciate you approving the bond referendum. And if you recall, that was approved by a 71% margin. And we had at least 7 town hall meetings. And a lot of us spoke, and I said that the money will be spent on the roads, and that's where it's being spent. And you can tell from tonight's quick summary of the number of streets, the miles, and just think of all the citizens that received road improvements. That's awesome. I talked about taking down the walls, and we're doing it through software. We purchased CityView, and we're implementing CityView software in 3 phases. So we've done phase 1, which is code enforcement, and the creation of a master address database. So before each department had its own database, you're probably laughing and saying, Keehner, you're kidding me. That's true. Fire department had its own database, Public Works had its own database, police had its own database. CityView took all these databases. We have a master address database by PIN, which is your property identification number, and by address. So each of the departments submitted all their information. It's in a master address database, so fire can pull from it, or fire can look at it. Police can look at it, community development can look at it, economic development can look at it, or put notes in it. And that helps everybody. Say, for instance, if the fire department has a fire, they pull up the permitting or the master address, and the business is under construction and the sprinkler shut off. It's going to be noted, so they know when they pull up, man, that sprinkler system shut off. And that's just a brief summary, very brief. But very powerful software. The phase 2 that we had approved by the board the other evening is the permitting software. So now we're going to take all the permitting information and put it into CityView, and it's going to help the inspections department. And then the third phase is that everything's going to be integrated into Microsoft Outlook. So if you want to pull a permit as a homeowner and you want to redo your roof, and you know what, you work at until 6 o'clock, and PW, where all permitting is done, closes at, say, 4 o'clock, 4:30, you can do it from your home once we get to phase 3. Because you'll just enter your own information on this portal through the permit. And part of phase 3 is also not only the Outlook calendar, so that you can schedule an inspection, but also the payment. Very important. You can even pay online with phase 3. So we're getting there. So phase 3 we'll be looking at maybe later on, fiscal year 2016, 2017, after phase 2 is implemented. So very important, tearing down the walls with software. That software will give the power to you, the resident, to look at the inspections, calendar, and put your own inspection in there, fill out your permits, all that kind of stuff. Click boxes, it'll empower you. So that's it for Public Works. Very proud of that department. So we're going to economic development, and I believe Jan Fiola had to leave early, but very, very proud of economic development also. Jan's worked very hard on a number of fronts, and one is a South Villa facade. And can you bounce maybe to the pictures and just bounce back? This is what's happening on South Villa. We've initiated a facade program where it's a 50-50, up to $20,000. So if the business spends X amount of dollars, up to $20,000, then the village will match that in this particular area. So this particular business put up new awnings, and you can tell above the awnings they did some work on the brick, and in the windows they did some murals, which rather than having empty windows or faded curtains, things of that nature, this particular business chose that. So please take an opportunity and drive South Villa. You'll see green awnings, you'll see the red awning, you'll see some black awnings. Pioneer Weed and Feed just redid the outside of their building. It looks beautiful. And this is an area that's catching on. that's being redeveloped. The ground or grassroots organization of the business owners is reforming and taking off again. So very proud of what's happening here. Bob's Discount Furniture just recently opened. What an addition to Bill Oaks Shopping Center. And I think we have that one, Kevin, if you flip to that. It's awesome. What a great revenue generator for the village. Not only in sales tax revenue, but property tax revenue, but also to keep everybody shopping Villa Park. We don't really have a furniture store that you can walk into and buy some of these things. In fact, if you go in on grand opening, we noticed that they had ice cream for the kids, they had candy for the kids, they had coffee for the adults to kind of keep everybody there and shopping. It's a beautiful facility. And what you'll notice is that we'll have a lot of ribbon cuttings because we're working closely with the Chamber of Commerce. And so what we do is when the building permits are issued, certificate of occupancy, the COs are issued to the businesses, we take those COs, we give them to the Chamber and we say, Alicia, just want you to know, this business is done with this construction, we give them a CO, maybe they want to join the Chamber, maybe they want to have a ribbon cutting. And so then Alicia kind of follows up with the new businesses with that CO and says, hey, let's do a ribbon cutting, let's join the Chamber, this is what we have to offer. So we communicate very well with the Chamber and tell her about new businesses. And she brings things to our attention. And in fact, when I say tear down the walls, inside the village, in fact, Jan's visited some businesses that Kevin says, you know, I don't have this particular tax form. Jan, can you go to that business and talk to him so I get this tax form so I can close this file out? And Jan does that for us. I mean, that's her job, to visit the businesses and talk to them, and she loves that stuff. So we're tearing down a lot of walls. Jan's doing a fantastic job. And think about Wildfire Harley. How many years have we talked about expansion? It's going. Well, it actually is going. So if you've driven North Avenue, a lot of things are happening on North Avenue. But if you've been there lately, you see a crane at Wildfire Harley. They're in the midst of their expansion. Hopefully that'll be done before summer. A Rider Academy, an outdoor venue with a large TV. They're going to do a facade improvement to their building. Is it okay to mention that? I guess it is now. So they're going to do that. And what that's going to do is bring a lot of folks to that area. North Park Plaza is going through some renovations. They've redone their roof, they've done their facade, they've done their parking lot, and now they're bringing in a Chipotle, the agreement signed, they're bringing in a dentist and an outlet, they're bringing in Dunkin' Donuts, bringing in 2 cell phone providers. It's very exciting.
Firehouse Subs.
And Firehouse Subs, that's in my notes. So very exciting. And you know what's exciting is they've done that without village assistance. So the owners of North Park Plaza have done that on their own. And they're doing some other things that I can't talk about tonight, but the buildings are going up to that. And I think we have a picture of some construction in North Park Plaza where they actually have the walls braced. And so very well. And as I understand it, that could be open maybe by June, all those businesses and ready to go. So that's awesome. Jan's also holding corridor meetings, so it could be the Roosevelt corridor, it could be the North Avenue corridor, it could be the St. Charles corridor, it could be South Villa corridor, Ardmore corridor. She gets the business folks together with the staff, because we're all invited. And then we go through a PowerPoint presentation where Jan explains what's available, what's going on. And if the business owners have any questions of, say, Public Works or Fire or Police or myself, then they're there, and I'm there to answer their questions right on the spot. It's been very effective. And you're probably thinking, okay, Keehner, what about the village-owned properties on North Avenue? Yes, we've owned some properties on North Avenue, and we call them village-owned properties on North Avenue. One property is under contract to be sold. Hopefully it'll be sold mid-April. Brand new development, should be 2 businesses. The other property that used to be, it's called Ladwig's RV Storage, the large 2.1 acres. We're going through right now with a developer, very close with a contract. It was on, it was off, now it's back on again. And I can tell you, we don't give up. We keep working towards the signed contract. but at the same time, we protect the village. We're not going to give things away that don't need to be given away. We're not going to indemnify the other party if we don't need to, etc. So we're protecting you, the resident, through good contract negotiations and approval through our attorneys and etc. So it's sometimes a timely, time-consuming effort, but we eventually get there. So very proud of economic development again. I know you've heard me say that, but we have a fantastic team that works together, gets along fantastic. I mean, we're all serious, but we kid around, but we get things done too. And we have a very supportive board also that we bring great ideas to them, or they bring ideas to us, and we work very well together. So you can flip to the next one, which is community development. The community development is really intertwined with public works. So I asked Patrick today, I said, Patrick, what are you most proud of in community development? And Patrick raised his hand. Our director is Patrick Grill. I said, Patrick, what are you most proud of? He goes, you know, Rich, I'm most proud of the CMAP rezoning grant. So what that is CMAP is taking a look at our zoning code and helping us update our zoning code, which has not been updated in many, many years. And so that's through a grant. And I didn't write the grant. I believe community development wrote the grant. And that's one of the items that Patrick's very proud of. Another item that Patrick is very proud of is the building code upgrade. So what we're doing is we're changing from the 2009 code, the ICC code, and going to the 2015 ICC code. So he's very proud of that. But he's also proud of the staff. Let me share some statistics for you. And I just love these statistics, I apologize. But one of the items that Patrick's in charge of is code violations. And one of the items that we often talk about is like grass mowing, trash, things of that nature, which really becomes like unsightly and we get phone calls or emails. But the property maintenance violations in 2015, we had 3,824, and that's from a staff driving around and looking at this, or complaint-based actually, and by that I mean there's a phone call or an email. And the staff visited 1,469 sites in 2015. That's a tremendous amount of visits. That's a tremendous amount of maintenance violations that they're aware of. And they just seek adherence. We're not looking to fine anybody and recoup revenue. We're just seeking adherence. Pick up your trash, mow your lawn, that type of thing. We have an adjudication process that I normally don't talk about, and I don't think I've ever brought it up in the state of the village, but we have an adjudication process where we have a hearing officer. And the hearing officer is within the village 2 times a month on Thursdays. You come in the village hall, you have a maintenance violation or a speeding ticket, you come before the judge, you plead your case, you're either liable or not liable. But we had 753 court cases in 2015, which resulted in 565 tickets. And you know, it's a very impartial hearing officer. You get up and you testify, you're sworn in actually. And you can come, just go on our website and go to a community page, and I believe on the calendar is adjudication. Some start at 4 o'clock, some start at 5, and you can sit in the audience and kind of listen to the judge, kind of explain to all of us the reasoning and the state code, village code, and it's kind of enlightening the way they explain things, and you kind of learn things. So very busy in community development. Community development really uses City View a lot because obviously code enforcement, property addresses, things of that nature. They get in there and they dive in and they do a lot of things. We've also hired a full-time building inspector. It's been a number of years since we did that. The revenues were there. We had a chance to obtain some qualified applicants. So we took applications and we were able to lure a building inspector away from another community, and she's doing an outstanding job. Very attentive, very knowledgeable. And it isn't just adherence, but she helps the property owner in the construction phase get from point A to point B, maybe doing something a little different that may be more cost effective, but still looking for adherence. So it isn't the tough love all the time. Annexations, you may hear from time to time that we have some property within the village. So if you look at a village map, and maybe a section's light green when it should be dark green, the light green signifies that that particular parcel or parcels are still in the county, it's unincorporated, but yet it's located within almost the center of Villa Park, or maybe on the south side. So some of those places we're looking at annexing and bringing into the village, and that's we're kind of following Board County Chairman Cronin's initiative of consolidation of government. So we're having those properties come in with the village rather than be unincorporated, because when you think about it, if it's unincorporated, they call 911, it should be the sheriff that comes, not the village folks. But we respond. We respond to fire and police. And we would do that. We would never not do that. Okay, what else we got? Next. So we're going to talk a little bit about parks and recreation, and I tell you, park and recreations is sort of like public works. Tremendous amount of things taking place. They're very proud of their programs. Another Princess Ball sold out this year. Prairie Path upgrades. The village received an award this year. Out of 12 communities that were in the running, we received the #1 award for improvements in economic viability for the path. And by economic viability, I mean the things that are occurring around the path, especially around South Villa, where you've got the museum and the storefronts are trying, the business owners are taking control and doing the awnings and taking advantage of the facade program. A lot of things happening on or near the path. So we're very proud of that. A lot of tree trimming. And you may laugh, but we do trim the trees on the Prairie Path, both of them, the Great Western and the Illinois Prairie Path. But on the Illinois Prairie Path, and if Greg was here, Greg had a death in his family. So our Parks and Recreation Director is Greg Gola. We do have Gina with us, which is his assistant this evening. But one of the unique things that we did last year is that near Ovaltine, if you drive Park Boulevard when it gets done, is you'll look at Ovaltine to your left. If you're going to the east, you'll see 3 patches of dirt that are separated by a few feet, and then it's another patch, and it's another patch. Those are actually wildflower gardens, which we're going to use as monarch butterfly havens. So we're going to get some signs up. So we're not going to trim the wildflowers. We actually have been working with Pioneer Weed and Seed Garden Feed. I knew I had that right the first time. And they're helping us. So we've planted the wild flower seeds, and in the spring they'll grow. And then we'll put some signs up, not to mow, not to go in there. And it'll be a monarch butterfly haven there, 3 areas. So it's kind of unique for us. We're redoing the depot, the old train station, which is very near the Cortese Memorial Veterans Park. So the depot's being redone. The Cortese Veterans Memorial Park is done, except for a few minor changes. The sod's been put down, the flagpoles are up, the landscaping's been done. So we're just going to do a couple things when the weather warms up, and you'll be very, very proud of that park. And that park will bring lots of visitors to the area to visit in Cortese, to kind of read the plaques and understand about the Cortese Veterans Memorial Park and to learn about that particular park. But it also brings folks there to participate on South Villa. It could be a dining experience, it could be dining, it could be the museum. But we also have some concerts planned in August for the Cortese Park. I'll just shorten the title down. So our plan, if the board approves it within the budget, is to have concerts on Thursday nights at the depot, which you'll be seated in the Cortese Park. And this is similar to the month of July, where the Kiwanians have concerts on Wednesday nights at the gazebo. So we've heard a lot of folks, well, geez, can't we do anything in August? Well, we will. And when we had the Villa Park Centennial Celebration in that area, folks said, well, why don't we do something in this area on an annual basis? So we are. So the month of August, we propose concerts The band will be at the depot on a stage, and then folks will be seated in Cortese if the board approves it. And we've actually tried to get sponsors, and so that'll help offset the cost and things of that nature. Speaking of software, just like I did earlier, the Parks and Rec now has a new software system so that you can do your programs yourself, but also in the pools, you'll be able to have a new pool ID which will be scanned. And what that does for us, that allows us to know who's coming and going in our pools so we can cater our program. So do we have a lot of non-residents coming in? Do we have a lot of folks using one-day passes? And we don't have that ability now to dive down into that data. We don't have that system or that ability. So this will help us with the pools to know who's coming and going and how we can tailor things. And the pools will be open this year. We've done many upgrades. We've got some funding in capital improvements for the pools, just like we did last year. And we're very optimistic that hopefully, knock on wood, that the pools, no pumps will go out this year and things of that nature. But we did an extensive a very caring project, if you will, to Jefferson Pool last year. We took a sandblaster and blasted off all the old paint right down to the concrete, and then sealed it, and then started painting again. So this year, that could save us over 40 man-hours, because every year you have to scrape off the old paint and things of that nature. So we don't have to do that this year. We'll just prep the pool and it'll be ready to go. So kind of forward thinking. We still have our memorial tree program, so if you're interested, we will put, if you contribute to the memorial tree program, we'll put your name on a bronze leaf, if you will, and put it on our tree in the Village Hall chambers. Fleet is actually oversaw by Parks and Recreation, a little odd, but to date, all the used vehicles that we've sold, we've netted almost $48,000, so we just put that money right back into the equipment replacement fund. And you may think, you know, what happened to that fire truck that you got rid of, Keehner? We actually sent that down to the University of Iowa, or University of Illinois, for training. So all of our new recruits that are firefighters go down to the University of Illinois and they're trained. So our old fire truck is down there. And then what we did with the old ambulance is we sold the ambulance. So we took that money, put it right back into equipment replacement. And when we get the new ambulance in April, we'll sell the old ambulance. And so if anybody's watching on live, when we show this on the cable channel, so if you're interested in a red vehicle at NIU or someplace to party, maybe a Badger game, we'll have an ambulance for you that you can convert. Just see Chief Ron. He'll make you a heck of a deal if it's approved by the board. So a lot of things taking place. I'm happy to say that the ball fields, we did to finish the dugouts at Jackson this fiscal year, so now the Jackson ball fields have dugouts, new benches, ceiling, roofs, dugouts at Jefferson now. We put a shed at Jefferson to store equipment. But one of the unique things, my son played baseball, a lot of sons play baseball, but they never had an electronic scoreboard, so we partnered with the Youth Baseball League, and we bought 2 scoreboards this fiscal year, which will be implemented in the spring. So in 2 fields, the kids, or the players, if you will, and coaches will know what inning it is, who's ahead, and things of that nature, because they'll be operated via remote. So we'll have someone there keeping score. And we're looking to maybe put up some fencing in a couple of fields, so if you hit over the fence, you have a home run. Just something for the kids to strive for and get all excited. So we're kind of working towards that. So a lot of hard work goes into taking care of our parks and putting the programs on that we do through the community. We're very happy and very proud of the pools. We're very proud of the programs. And if you haven't did programs lately at the ICC, they have taekwondo. They've got the gym that you can take some things in. I played floor hockey before, knocked around a little bit. So a great department. So a lot of fun things happen. If you'll switch to the library. Now, we always include the library with us in our staff meetings, we have a great relationship with Director Hill. She's here. We kid around a lot. We're serious. We bounce ideas off of each other. And a lot of folks, they don't really know that, you know, that the library has a separate levy, and it's sort of with the village, but it's sort of not. But we include the library with us in our staff meetings and our discussions and things of that nature. And the library includes us. And one of the amazing things that the library does for us, they'll say, hey, do you guys need an old desk? I'm going to get rid of this desk. Do you want it? We have these old computers. Do you want them? And we'll rehab the computers, and maybe they'll be a secondary computer. So if a computer breaks down, we can pull that computer and put it into use. Because what we do, and I don't often talk about this, but staff, we don't save files on our computers. We save them on the network. So if my computer breaks down, I take my laptop or my CPU, I give it to IT, and I say, Larry, I need another computer. I can't be down. Public Works can't be down. But if you save the file on your computer, you're going to be down because that file is locked up with a computer that's defective. So we don't do that. We save everything on the network. Computer goes down, we just get a different computer and plug it in, and we're in. And that's just the way we do it. But one of the amazing things for the library this year is they had the Richard and Ray Rupsearch Digital Media Lab open up. Never had a media lab before, so it's pretty cool. And they're very proud of that. And they should be. They should be, because there was some grant money involved, some donations, and they should be very proud, and I'm proud. What a library we have. I don't know if you've been to the library lately, but a lot goes on in that building. And it's an older building, just like most of the facilities within the Village of Villa Park for the government here, that they're older. But she does a fantastic job, has a fantastic staff that does a wonderful job. Very supportive board. And I think Trustee Wagner was on the board and did a fantastic job. They received 2 grants just recently, thousands of dollars to help out at the library. They have a fantastic summer reading program. And the readathon was just so exciting this year that a bunch of us read underneath the tent next to Ardmore. So you may have went by, hopefully you didn't honk your horn, because it was being, being kind of recorded, if you will, and we were talking into a microphone. But, really exciting. So one grant was $27,000. Another grant was $22,000. And they had an Eagle Scout step up and create 2 little free libraries at Jackson and Jefferson Middle School. Never been done before. So that the students could take home books from those free libraries. They had a facility analysis completed this year, just like we've done as the village on several buildings, and ADA analysis. So, and of course the analysis showed things need to be done. And I think Director Hill brought some foam core with some pictures and what needs to be done. And I sat through one of their open houses, very informative. They have another open house coming up April 18th from 1 to 3 and 7 to 9 at the library. So I encourage you just to stop by and listen. They have a pass out, and I was looking through this pass out, very informative. Some of the things I didn't realize was how old the building was. I think it was built in 69, so 1969. But I think Village Hall outdates that. But still, rather old building. So a lot happening, You have some great folks that work for you. I hope you're happy with the village services that we provide you. Looking forward, if you want to go to the next screen, is a couple of different things. Governor Rauner had his budget address the other day, and you know what? It didn't dawn on me until I was at a meeting a couple weeks after that, but it was actually the 2017 budget address. It was not the 2016 budget address. And if you really think about it, we're going into the 9th month for the state of Illinois without a budget. So when Governor Rauner gave his budget address the other day, that's the June going forward budget. That's a 2017 budget address. So at home. And the way it hit home for me is, when they do have a budget, It may involve the village and cities across the state of maybe having some money swept and things of that nature. And that would be very, very harmful to us. So as we move forward, we're going to be very cautious with our expenditures. We're going to watch the expenditures. We're going to watch the revenues. We're just going to move forward very cautiously. Not that we always don't, but we're going to be very cautiously moving forward. Because the 2016 budget was never done, so you know that there's no balancing going on there. And when they do pass the budget, there'll be some balancing, hopefully, and hopefully there's no sweeps of the local government distributive fund and things of that nature, which would cause us to react and probably delay some equipment replacement and things of that nature. So again, I'm Rich Keehner. I'm the village manager. Thank you for being here. Hope I didn't bore you too much. There's just tremendous amount of things that are happening. And I see President Bullwinkle coming up with, if you have some questions, please raise your hand. Look at Chief Ron's getting up already. That fancy sweater, he's going to come around. So thank you very much.
So if anybody has any questions, ooh, that's a really nice smile. We have our Fire Chief, Ron Koznick. He's our Vanna White tonight.
How do you turn that?
There's a little button there. Come down to you too. See the button on the side there? There you go, it's live.
I have a couple questions for Mr. Salerno. The first question is, why does the village hire private companies to cut down trees and not also pay them to grind up the stumps?
You want to do it or? Sure. But I can take part of it. I don't know if my voice is very.
Yeah.
That's a very.
Should be on.
Let it turn green.
Yep, there you go.
Can't take me anywhere. That's a good question. And one of the reasons why we do that is because I put tremendous amounts of pressure on Public Works. And I say Public Works, we need to get the trees done. And a lot of times, it's complaint-based. The homeowners call and say, when is my tree going to be cut down? It's dead. I don't want it falling on my home. And so with all the road improvements and everything else that Public Works does, including cutting down trees, we hired some third parties to help us keep moving forward because some of these trees were damaged by the emerald ash borer, and we don't want that spreading. So if Public Works was busy doing streets, engineering, then we had a private firm come in and cut down the tree. And not only does that keep us moving forward with cutting down the trees, but it also, we're not responsible for employee benefits or if they're injured or anything like that. So we took that into consideration also. And then we purchased a stump grinder because we did not have a stump grinder. We always borrowed one, usually from Naperville. And so we had an opportunity to buy a stump grinder because our revenues were there. And so we said, hey, you know what, we proposed to buy a stump grinder. So now we cut down the trees, and then we have staff come around and grind down the stumps. But it's usually days after the tree gets cut down, or it could be, you know, quite frankly, months, but it's on the list. And we have a very active list of the tree stumps and the trees that need to be come down, and we go on that list. So we come back, cut the trees down, and come back and do the stump, and then we, you know, do the sod or seeding and things of that nature.
One more question. Given there's something like over 600 tree stumps, is that correct?
Fairly accurate, just a little bit less than that.
How long do you estimate it's going to be before you catch up with all the stumps that need to be ground out?
We don't have an exact time frame for the 600 due to the staff. They do a number of activities, the forestry division, as the manager mentioned, third-party removals, but we also do removals this time of year. The forestry division is busy with tree trimming it's the most effective time of the year to do that. So we're trimming. The stump removal and restoration process takes a little bit of time and can only be done in the summer months. Instead of leaving a hole open, we need to actually fill it with topsoil and then, as the manager mentioned, either seed or sod. So those 600 stumps that are left, that's over the years of the emerald ash borer, Dutch elm disease that we're catching up because of, I was said, with a piece of equipment that we just purchased a little over a year ago. So we're, the exact time frame, I don't have that.
But, you know, not the exact number, but didn't we do like the 300 last?
Yeah, that is correct. We restored and ground over 300 stumps last year. So obviously, we're still taking trees down. We have probably less than 100 ash trees still left for removal, but which will add to then the stumps for the restoration.
I might still be alive by the time you get caught up.
Yes, I hope so.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Don't be shy. I know it's getting late, but if anybody wants to ask a question, you can ask away. Anybody? Going once? Going twice?
Oh, right here.
Oh, okay.
Do we have a program on snow removal on sidewalks? And is it ever enforced if we have one?
It just takes time for the mic to turn on.
Okay, I think I turned it. No, we don't have a snow removal sidewalk snow removal program. I think several years ago, well, at least since I've been here, it was suggested. But what came about was, what if you can't actually shovel your snow? What if you were elderly and then all of a sudden we had to cite you and then cite you again and then cite you again through code enforcement because your sidewalk wasn't shoveled? And then just think of the amount of phone calls and things of that nature. So we did not, or the board did not, enact a policy on that. But we had a lot of discussion, a lot of good points were made, but we're counting on the residents to look at the sidewalk and say, hey, I need to get out there and shovel that. And sometimes I've instructed staff, police department in particular, to have maybe a CSO stop by and knock on someone's door and say, hey, your sidewalk, could you please shovel it? You're very close to a school. That way it keeps the kids on the sidewalk and not in the street. So we've done that. We've actually had CSOs pull up in a squad car, knock on a door and ask them to shovel.
I'll tell you what my concern is, and it's the train station. I'm a commuter. I prefer to walk to the train, and there's a number of people who do. And you're walking in the street on Ardmore because it is so dangerous when it is snow.
Okay, well that's a very good point, because what we can do is then, Chief Bob, I know just made a note of that, and we'll just knock on the door or we'll call a property owner through our master address database, and we can do that now and say, you know what, property owner, we've had numerous complaints about the sidewalks and forcing folks into the street. We're really going to be watching this next year, so please shovel. We can do that right now. We'll just give them plenty of notice. Happy to do that.
North or south of the tracks?
I happen to walk south, but...
Come from the south and you're going?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out which direction.
I'm heading south. I'm heading towards...
south.
I'm heading north?
You're on the north side of the tracks?
I'm on the south side of the tracks, though. Either way, because we're all going...
South of the tracks, walking north to the track.
South of the tracks, walking north for the folks at home.
If I'm going to the train station, I'm walking north. If I'm going home, I'm walking south. Either way, it's not good.
Yes, in other words, it all needs to be cleared
Yes.
as often as possible to make it easier for the pedestrians, because we have a lot of people who walk.
Especially earlier this year, we had of that heavy wet snow and then all iced over, and it was really, really bad.
Chief Ron, you know, that's the heavy snow reminded me. Why don't you tell the folks what you did with Dan Cross?
Well, I think it was probably a month ago or so, or a couple months ago, I don't remember, but we had some heavy snow. And we had some people call in the village hall looking for somebody to shovel their driveway and sidewalk. So with Manager Keehner, Mr. Fiscalis, I contacted Dan Kraus from Willowbrook High School. And within a half hour, he had football players and coaching staff waiting for me to give them a list, which I did of about 20-some residents. And these kids and coaches were out there shoveling 20 or 30 or so driveways. So it didn't happen within a matter of a half hour. They were out there.
And the students did such a good job, I think some of the homeowners asked them to come shovel off their rear decks.
I think you're right. I think they were kind of taking advantage of the situation a little bit. But in any event, they did a great job. They did the sidewalk as well as the driveways.
Good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anything else that came to mind? Well, if you don't have any questions tonight, you know, you can always reach out to your village board. If you have any questions, we can be contacted through www.invillapark.com under the government tab. If you have access to the internet, you can reach us. We have our phone numbers listed. We have our emails listed. You can call Village Hall at 630-692-6052 and you know, contact us through there too. I hope I said the phone number right. Did I say that right? 630, I have it on my phone, 630-592-6052. So that goes right into the village manager's office, and you can reach us through there too. So with that, I think we're going to adjourn, but I want to say thank you to everybody who came. We know you have a lot of other things you can do on a Thursday night. We appreciate you spending it with us. So please, you know that we appreciate it. Thank you very much.